you guys were not. You were in. Actually, you were in our preseason.
I was in Portland as well.
I want to cover playoff hockey in Vancouver. I want the fans to enjoy and experience playoff hockey in Vancouver. I want the Canucks to win a Stanley Cup for this city. And looking at Raptors Twitter right now, a fade for Cade. I feel like a lot of them would love to see him there. I mean, I'm not advocating for that, but I mean, I know that's big on Raptors Twitter minds these days.
LA gave one out to Jared Goff, and they've already moved on.
Correct.
They didn't think that could work for them.
Okay, sports fans, it's time for the Unnamed Sports Show. Here's your host, Joshua Griffith.
Hello, and this is the Unnamed Sports Show. Thank you very much to the Matinee and the voice of the Vancouver Whitecaps, Mr. Don Andrews, for that wonderful introduction. I'm, of course, your host, Joshua Griffith, here on the Sports Talkline Network, where we talk sports 24/7, 365. Today on the Unnamed Sports Show, we are going to be talking some football, or in North America, soccer. I'm joined by a great guest, second time joining me here on the show, Manuel Veth from TransferMarkt and contributor for Forbes, who covers the Bundesliga, Pacific FC, the Vancouver Whitecaps, and just football in general. So that is going to be the theme of today's show. Had a great chat with him for about 20 minutes. We just wrapped that up. So going to have that for you shortly. Chat about Ryan Gauld, Vancouver Whitecaps 2-1 victory over Austin FC on Wednesday evening. A look ahead to the match at BC Place. Bayern Munich, Alphonso Davies in the Bundesliga. A little Erling Haaland talk, of course, because he's an exciting player to watch. And then also, too, I asked Manuel about the Wolfsburg 6 sub. And as confused as I was by the situation, he kind of does a great job of breaking it down and making it a little less confusing for me and hopefully you when you guys get to see it here in the interview shortly. Also, at the end here, we kind of quell some Robert Lewandowski rumors. So make sure you stay tuned for all of that. If you have seen the show before, and I hope you have, if this is your first time, we're going to take care of some housekeeping right now. So make sure to hit that like button down at the bottom. If you don't already subscribe to the Sports Talkline YouTube channel, leave me a comment. Let me know what you think of the interview. Let me know what you think of the Whitecaps, all of our subjects that we're talking about. Ryan Gauld, is he the savior that the Vancouver Whitecaps have finally got? I mean, Mark DeSanto said, he said, don't use the savior thing. He's not here for that. But hey, after watching him play in 3 games and on Wednesday night, just 45 minutes, it's going to be very hard for Mark DeSantos to continue to convince me and probably many other media fans and just casual football people that Ryan Gauld isn't the Whitecap savior. So we're going to get into all that and more on today's episode. So without further ado, I hope you enjoyed this chat with Manuel Veth from TransferMarkt. All right, so I'm so thrilled to be joined for the second time here on the Unnamed Sports Show by the one and only Manuel Veth. Manuel, thank you so much for joining me today.
Hey, how's it going, Josh?
I am doing so good. And like we were just kind of briefly chatting before, excited that we have a Whitecaps win to finally chat about.
Yeah, we do. It's too bad they didn't get that record for the most draws in a row, right?
That was the very Ted Lasso of them going for all those draws. But yeah, I think it was good to finally get that one off their back.
Yeah, an instant impact, I think, too, by the new signing, right? Ryan Gauld. I think everyone has been kind of anticipating what sort of player he's going to be, and there was all these rumors about them signing someone who speaks Portuguese, and so I think we were all kind of hoping it would be a Brazilian star player, but it ended up being Scottish. So I think a lot of people were just kind of wondering what sort of player he's going to be, and I think he had an instant impact and really showed his skills yesterday, made the winner happen, right? And yeah, I think we can be pretty excited about them coming home.
It is an exciting time, I think, for Whitecaps fans, because you mentioned they were draws, but they were results, so they were on the road. hostile territory, and getting that big 3 points here against Austin moves them real close in the playoff standings. Do you think they're going to be able to make a push, Manuel?
It's very tight, isn't it? When we're just looking at the table right now, it's 4 points to the Timbers. That's not a lot. And this league is so tight. The Timbers have a similar goal differential to -10 to the Whitecaps -8. I wouldn't write them off. Having 9 home games in the last 16.
Yeah,
that's big. That's really big for a team that's been really on the road for the better part of 2 years now. And I think we both of us go on the Zoom calls, right? We talk to the club. We know how difficult this time has been. And I think to come home and to play in front of their own stadium, and more importantly, to train at home and be with the family and all that, and being in an environment that's more commonly known to them. And to have finally added the player that this team very much needed. We saw yesterday how important the signing has been. And I think it's possible. It's going to be difficult because you essentially have to win all your home games, right? Or at least get a result. Like, it's essentially every home game is a final. On the road, it's always difficult in MLS. Those people that run the stats and do the it's a great article by Jonathan Tannenwald that we both know. For the Philadelphia Inquirer. He wrote it last year, and he said home advantage is the biggest factor in MLS right after market value. And I think those home games will have to be key.
And they do have some teams to jump as well, which is always makes it a little bit more difficult when there's kind of a clump of teams, and looking at teams like LAFC, Portland. They're good teams. So the Whitecaps are definitely going to have their work cut out for them. But I think that it's at least going to be an exciting finish. And like you mentioned too, they now have to be back at BC Place. They have fans to play in front of finally. And two, they have that stability in life. And as much as the team tried to do it with bringing their families down and doing condos as opposed to the hotel scene, it's not the same. Anyone knows, anyone who's traveled at all, there's just something about sleeping in your own bed. So
yeah, 100%. I think they even brought a cat down.
They did, yes. Tosaint Ricketts brought his cat down.
That's right. You did that story. I remember.
Actually, I was working on it, but then Tosaint had the unfortunate thing happen with his father passing away. So that was kind of pushed back on hold. But yes, Tosaint did bring his cat down, and he kind of seemed shocked when I was like, well, is it hard to bring a cat down to utilities? Why would it be hard to bring a cat down there? He almost seemed insulted that I didn't think it would be possible to.
Probably easier for the cat to cross the border than for us at the moment, but
yeah. That's true. Unless you're a Vancouver Canucks goalie and you're trying to bring over turtles. I think pets are a little bit easier right now.
Yes.
So speaking of, crossing some borders, one of the things that you cover as well for Forbes is the Bundesliga and German soccer over there. And there's something that I really wanted to ask you about when I found out that you were going to join me on the show here for the second time. What was Wolfsburg Frankfurt doing?
Oh, you broke up there for a second, buddy.
I was just wondering, what was Wolfsburg Frankfurt doing? What happened? How do you use 6 subs?
Oh, you mean in the German Cup?
In the German Cup, yeah.
Yes, Wolfsburg. Yeah, so in some competitions that's allowed, right? They
normally only in in playoff styles and in extra time. You get
that's right, and that's what Wolfsburg did. They brought on a 6th substitution in extra time, and in some competitions that's allowed, right? So you at the moment you're allowed 5 substitutions in 3 slots, and then in some competitions, including the Euros, you were allowed a 6th substitution in extra time, and in a DFB Pokal you are not. And Mark van Bommel, the new head coach of VfL Wolfsburg, wasn't aware of that rule. He said, or in his defense, he argued that he asked the refereeing team several times whether a 6th substitution was allowed, and they didn't stop him. So But the rules are the rules. It's actually the DFB, the German Football Association, hands out a book of rules to every club prior to a competition, because like the DFB runs the cup, right? And the DFL, which is the Deutsche Fußballliga, is the governing body of the first and second division. They run the league, the professional leagues. So they handed out a book with all the rules, and Jörg Schmatke, the sporting director, after the game said like, "Oh, maybe we should send our staff to a reading course because they didn't read the rules." It's an unfortunate situation because this happened last year as well in the Coppa Italia, right, where Paulo Fonseca made a substitution, and also his team, they also got kicked out of the cup. Now they have lost their the court case at the DFB. At the regional court there, and they're going to appeal. I don't think there's high hopes for them to stay in the competition, because it's quite obvious that they made a big boo-boo. But it's important to learn how to count.
It is, and read.
And read. Their argument is, of course, that the refereeing team didn't stop them, but there's a lot of stuff going on for the referees at the sideline, and they're not always, they can't be on top of everything, which is why substitutions are a prerogative of the individual clubs. So
it was just such an interesting situation, and it was getting a lot of flack. So I'm glad that you were able to kind of clear it up for me and my listeners as well, because it is kind of more of a complicated situation than it looks right on the outside.
Yes, absolutely.
So keeping in German, the Super Cup there, Alphonso Davies, the Canadian wonder kid, just can't stop winning trophies.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I thought he was actually excellent at times. That it's a Super Cup, right? It's a glorified friendly between the German Cup winner, Borussia Dortmund in this case, and Bayern Munich, the German champion. But yeah, I think he had a very good game. He looked good in the game against Gladbach as well. It had a tough start, right? Gladbach targeted him a bit, and then moved their attention to Upamecano once Marcus Thuram came on, sort of realizing, I guess, that maybe he wasn't the best target for them defensively, but kind of grew into that game. He's looking fit, man. He's looking really fit.
You're probably thinking about the one picture that I'm thinking about right now.
No, well, it's just in general, also the way he moves. I think you can just tell that having the time off with that injury, which obviously wasn't that complicated, really helped him to be on form for the start of the season for his club, right?
Yeah.
You always wonder. I'm pretty sure he wanted to play the Gold Cup for Canada, so. But you always wonder whether playing the Gold Cup isn't that important, right? And whether it was actually a positive for him to miss that tournament and be ready for the season for Bayern Munich.
Do you think there's going to be any stopping Bayern Munich in the league season this year?
It's still early. I don't think they were great against Gladbach. They could have lost that game. I think when you look at the goal impact stats, it's the first time in about 12 years that there's a higher chance of Bayern Munich not winning the league than them winning the league. I think that the squad is very thin, that they are looking, or we're looking for a right back. Stanisic has sort of played himself into the team. They are still looking for a midfielder. There's been persistent rumors about Marcel Sabitzer, whose contract with Leipzig is up next year, and that they could maybe sign him. But again, that's not exactly a world-shattering transfer. There were rumors today about Robert Lewandowski wanting out.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, I think that was very, I spoke to some people, and it was very quickly shut down as Sky UK put those rumors out there. I hope for their sake that they're not sending some poor guy like they did with Dortmund last year to cover the Sancho transfer when Dortmund long said this isn't going to happen. So yeah, it's it's an interesting season for them. I think there's going to be an embedding period for Julian Nagelsmann. The midfield is a little thin. They need more players in defense. Upamecano and Süle are not David Alaba and Jerome Boateng. And I think they are beatable. And I think Dortmund will kind of kick themselves a little bit because they gifted that third goal to Lewandowski. They wasted a ton of chances. Mukoko and Haaland scored 2 goals that were offside. So, on paper, that 3-1 result looks bad, but it wasn't. It was pretty close when you watch the overall game. And I think they're beatable.
Haaland is such a fun player to watch.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
I find myself like looking for the Borussia Dortmund games. I'm like, okay, there it is. Gonna PVR this one. Make sure I watch it because that kid, and he's fun too out there. You can tell he's having fun when he's playing the game.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, there's a reason why big teams like Chelsea were willing to pay 150 million euros for him this year, and Borussia Dortmund saying no, that's not happening. So, at the same time, I mean, he's also only a human being. There was a lot of talk about him being not human, right? And I actually don't like that because he is a human being and he is a person, and the expectations in him are so big. And in the same time, Bayern Munich did stop him, right? So I think we have to be careful when we use these big terms to describe big players, and I have to also remember that they're human beings at times.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I know that when Ryan Gauld, bring it back over to the Whitecap side of things, when Ryan Gauld came, he, from what I read and what I heard, he was very adamant that he did not like being referred to as the Scottish Messi. And I can only imagine growing up and having that kind of pressure on you to fill those kind of shoes. And I mean, you always see it. There's like 7 or 8 Messis, or a Brazilian Messi, a Japanese Messi.
I don't like that comparison at all.
No.
It comes from scouting, doesn't it? Because sometimes you need to have a descriptor to describe a player when you scout them, and then you say like, oh yeah, he plays a little bit like that, and then someone gets a hold of the scout report and that descriptor and says like, oh, he's like Lionel Messi. It's like, no, I mean, he has certain attributes and certain techniques that are similar to that player, but he's not that person, and he's not the same player at all. And yeah, it's one of those things. Whenever I see that, I kind of roll my eyes. So yeah.
Well, Manuel, are you going to be attending the Whitecaps match on Saturday at BC Place?
My first game back will be against Real Salt Lake.
Against Real Salt Lake, okay.
Yeah, I had already holiday plans made before the schedule came out, right? So I'm on holiday this weekend, and we'll be back at BC Place on the weekend after. That said, the Whitecaps will be on Vancouver Island on August 26th.
They will, yes.
For the first time in my life, they're coming to me, not the other way around, which is nice. So I guess I'll be seeing them for the first time in person since the pandemic started, since March 2020 out at Pacific Stadium.
Yeah, it's going to be that should be really exciting. And like you said, for the first time, they're coming to us because I'm also too on the island here, just up in Nanaimo. But it'll be a quick, about just an hour drive down to what is it? Starlight Stadium. Yeah, no, and then it looks like some of the renovations they've done are just absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, and the hydro pole is gone, so
yes,
more renovation coming.
except for the hydro pole supporters group, of course, but they're not going anywhere. So.
Yeah, some tears for them.
Some tears for them. Well, Manuel, thank you very much for joining me today. I know you're a busy guy, and we'll catch up again soon down the line.
Yeah, definitely, anytime, Joshua.
Cheers. All right. So as you heard, Manuel was just heading off to holidays. So busy guy, thankful that he was able to chat with me today. Lots of fun always when we chat football. I mean, I asked him for about 10, 15 minutes and I looked down at the clock and we were already at 20. And I hit about 4 out of my 10 bullet points that I wanted to cover. So Again, so much fun chatting football with him. Not going to get to see him this weekend covering the Vancouver Whitecaps at BC Place. But like he said, on August 26th, be down in Victoria covering the Canadian Championship. So Victoria, the Pacific FC, and Vancouver Whitecaps will be playing in that one. I hope that everyone really enjoyed today's episode. I am excited to head over to Vancouver on the weekend on Saturday for the Vancouver Whitecaps' first home match of this year. And stay tuned because I'm going to be doing some special broadcasts from Vancouver, from BC Place, up in the booth there. So hopefully you guys can stay tuned for that and check it out on the weekend. So for the Sports Talk Line Network, this has been the Unnamed Sports Show. I have been your host, Joshua Griffith. And remember, love sports, all sports.